Hi, I'm T, and welcome to my Roblox beginner scripting tutorial series. In this episode, we will be covering Roblox data types. At the end of the video, I posted a little challenge for you guys, and make sure you guys comment your code down below. Remember, if you get stuck, refer to the Roblox documentation, link in the description. If you have any questions, feel free to comment down below. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Roblox has a ton of data types, but the main ones that we're going to talk today about are strings, numbers, Booleans, nil, and briefly on tables. So we talked about strings in our previous episode. So let's get a refresher. What are strings? So a string is like a string of characters. So the way to define a string in Roblox is by using double quotes, as you can see here, or you can do single quote, but that's how you define a string. Now, what is the purpose of a string, right? So like, it's just literally like a word. So you can use strings for anything from like player names, chat messages, item descriptions, UI stuff, right? I use strings a lot of the time to print out values to the console for debugging. So for example, if I'm trying to figure something out, I'll just type in print hello world or print this working like that, right? So when I print this, you can see this is working, right? So like in your code flow, I like to put in these little messages to give myself an idea of what's going on and when things are happening. So there's lots of use cases for strings in coding, but that's really the main, right? So let's go ahead and work with the string. So to print out a variable, we already talked about this. You just type in print like this, surrounded in parentheses, and you put whatever data type value that you want to print to the console. So we're going to type out print player name. Now, you may be confused. Why are we doing player name and it's not surrounded by double quotes? Now, I said this before. There's a difference between this here and this here, right? So the reason why I'm printing out, I guess, words that are not surrounded by double quotes is because of this variable here, which we learned in the previous episode. We have stored the T value into this player name variable, right? So now we can reference this here by printing it out to the console, and you'll see here, let me comment this out. We'll see this will say T, right? So we already know how to do that. Now, what I want you guys to do every time you're working with these data types, if you're ever confused, use type of. Okay, so type of is going to be a built-in function that you can use to verify the types of different things, right? So here we're going to verify the type of player name, right? So if I do this by itself, this won't actually show anything. This just returns the type here. Now I need to also print this to the console by putting it or surrounding it with the print function, right? So now we'll see string, right? So that's how you can verify what you're working with. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue with our example here. We have player name is, and we concatenate the player name variable with this string value here, and then this will print out player name is, take a guess, T, right? So we have that. So we can verify the type check, type of player name, which we already did this, but let's go ahead and do it one more time. String. Perfect. So that's going to be string. Now let's go ahead and get to numbers. We already know what numbers are, right? They're just numbers. So the same thing, we have a variable here, coins, and we store the 10 number into this variable here, right? We have speed as well defined, and we stored 16.5 speed. Now, what are numbers used for typically, right? So numbers can be used for all sorts of things, right? So like with coins in an actual game, we have coin number or coin amount. Like imagine like you have a leaderboard in a simulator, right? And you have like a coin number or value on the leaderboard. That's going to be the amount of like coins or numbers, right? So you'll store that value in a number or with a number, right? So you'll have like say 1,000,000 coins, right? That's a number, right? So we have 10 coins, 100 coins, 1,000, right? We have speed. It's going to be a number, right? So you can see we just using numbers to define the math or manipulate numbers or add coins, whatever we want, right? So, you can use it for health, speed, timers, damage amounts, right? So like say I want to do like, let's do 10 damage, right? I can do humanoid take damage. I can do like five damage, right? Now this doesn't actually make any sense because we don't have a humanoid defined, but this is what you do, right? Take damage 5, right? Or I could set this to a variable and say, we're going to say 20, right? And we can say take damage and it'll be 20, right? So that's how you can work with that. Now let's go to an actual example here. So we will print coins and the type of, and we can verify first. That way we can see. Take a guess and tell me what you think this would be. Both of these. Let's go ahead and run it. So we have coins and then we have 10 because that's what the number is inside of the coins variable. And then we have type number, right? So we have verified that this is in fact a number data type. So let's go ahead and get to the next one. Now let's go ahead and set our speed and print our speed here, right? So we have 16.5. So ideally we should see speed 16.5. And then now these are the same. So these should be the same, right? Yes. So we have number, and then we have 10 and then 16.5 because of this here, right? You can see it. Now let's go ahead and do a couple more prints here. We're going to do something different. So we're going to say, let's add coins to our coins value, right? So we talked about this in the previous episode, how we can change the variables and the data inside of these variables. So we can add using math to our coins by just saying coins or 10 plus 5. So this should say print coins after plus 5, right? What is this going to say? 15, right? Because we know what 10 plus 5 is. Now we're going to change our speed. So let's say you have a 2 times X game pass, right? So now we're going to say speed, which is 16.5. This is your base speed right here, and multiply that by 2, right? What do you think that's going to be? That's going to be 33, right? Double speed. Look at that. So that's just a way to think about it, right? In the game sense. So that's going to be numbers. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about Booleans. So with a Boolean, what is that? So simply put, we have true, false values, yes or no switches, on or off switches. Just think of them like that. So in Roblox, a Boolean is going to be either true or false. So if we set this to this variable here is night to false, we can see that this is false. So the way to think about this, let's just ask ourselves a question. Is it nighttime? So now with that, we'll say, is it nighttime? Then we'll set is night or whatever you want, is day. We can set it whatever. So in this case, we'll say is night is equal to false. How do I use this? So we haven't talked about control flow at all, but I'm going to use this example and we'll talk about this later. If else statements are examples of control flow. So this allows you to control the flow of your code by saying, if something happens, then let's do this. Otherwise, let's do this. So in this case, we have is night. If is night is equal to true, then this will happen. Otherwise, we'll print this out. So in this case, what do you think is going to run? I think it's going to say daytime. Okay, so let's test it. Daytime. Why is that? Because we said if this is true, which it currently is not, it's false, then this will happen. Otherwise, which is if it's not true, which it is not, then it'll do this. Okay. Now, if we change this to true, it'll be what? Take a guess. All right, so it's gonna be nighttime. So this is just one example of how you can use Booleans. You just want to use Booleans when you're just trying to figure out yes or no question. Okay, so that's gonna be Booleans. Now let's go ahead and get to our next section, which is going to be very, very quick. So we have nil. Think of it as an empty box with nothing inside. The way to use this in game development is you just want to verify the absence of a value. So when we do this is nothing. This has not been assigned anything. We just have mystery value, which when we print this to the console here, you'll see mystery value is nil. We can see that it's just nothing. So this is how you'd use this. Coins. So let's say for whatever reason, the player's coins didn't go to 0. They just don't have coins anymore. They went to a different class and coins just don't exist anymore. Maybe they have jewels instead. So now we would set coins variable that we defined up here. So let's go ahead and print coins here, and then we'll print coins here, okay? And then we'll see what changes. So take a guess based on this flow here. We can say coins will first be 10, and then coins reset to nothing / nil. And you can see the type here is nil. So with that being said, we were able to change the data or reset box empty by assigning it to nil, which means nothing. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about our final section, tables. Now I'm going to touch on this very briefly. This concept by itself needs a whole video dedicated to it. Now, what are tables? So in Roblox, we have 2 different types of tables. We have arrays and then we have dictionaries. So I'm only going to talk about arrays in this video, okay? So arrays just think of them as like a box that can hold little boxes, right? So in this case, let's talk about fruit basket. Okay, so let's do this in a way to like let's do this a longer way, right? Let's take the longer route with this. So if I have multiple variables, let's say fruit 1 is equal to apple, and then we have fruit 2 is equal to banana, right? And I say I want to like name 300 fruits, and then when I go to print them to the console, I have to print 300 times, right? 300 different print statements. That's inefficient, right? So we can use something called an array to hold multiple values. And instead of having 300 different variables named fruit 1 through 300, I can name something called fruit basket and assign an array data type / table data type to this variable. So now I can keep all of those little fruits, all of these variables inside of one list. Right? So just think of it as like a basket. So I have apple, banana, grape, and to access this, all I have to do is reference its index. So arrays are index based. In Roblox, the arrays start at 1 index, okay? Index 1. So in other languages, it could be 0. So if you're ever looking stuff up on arrays, it could be 0 or 1 as a starting index of array, okay? But in Roblox, it is 1. So we have apple as the first value, banana as the second, grape as the third, and if we had more, so on and so forth. So to reference this, we have to type, okay? We have to type fruit basket or the array name, and then we have to reference the index. And to do that in Roblox, we surround the number of the index in square brackets, okay? So now when we do this, tell me what you think this is gonna be based on what I just said. All right, let's go ahead and print this. So first fruit is banana, okay? Because that's index 2. Now when I change this to index 1, it's gonna do apple, okay? Index 3, it'll do what? It'll do grape, okay? So now let's go ahead and verify what this is here. So let's go ahead and uncomment this and let's do fruit basket, and we're going to verify the type. So this is going to say table, okay? So that's a table. Now, if I verify the type of what's in this, we can also see that it's going to be a string because you can see that we have apple, the string inside of it. We can also put Booleans inside of this as well. So let's do true and let's do numbers, okay? So we can put all the data types inside of this one data type, which is pretty cool, right? So let's see. This is going to say type of at index 2 number, okay? Because we have 10 at the second index. Then when we reference index 3, it's going to be what? A Boolean, right? Because of the fact that we have true inside of there, which is a Boolean. So this is just a little taste of what arrays can do. Like I said, I will make a whole video on this, but that's going to be it for tables. And that's going to wrap it up for this episode. So for today's challenge, we have just a little bit of practice here. I just want you to go through this whole exercise, and this will give you a feel for all of the data types that we talked about today. And there's even a bonus section at the bottom. If you guys can complete it, I'm sure you can if you guys paid attention. So if you guys are comfortable as well, be sure to post all your code in the comments below. I look forward to seeing your answers. If you guys need to review anything, feel free to go back in the videos. And if you have any questions, please feel free to comment down below. Remember to check the Roblox documentation if you need any verification. And that's all for today, you guys. Peace out.